Hey folks, in this episode I'm going to show you how to make this paper layer effect using the shader editor in Blender. This motion graphic is fairly easy to make. I'll give you a quick concept overview. So this is the 3D scene. Essentially it's just a plane with an array modifier translated on the Z value. The node setup is fairly straightforward. We basically just use this noise texture to drive the alpha. We then use a gradient texture to drive the color change. So without further ado, let's get to it. Open up Blender. We're going to take the default cube, I'm going to hit delete. I'll also take the default light, I'm going to hit delete. I'll then hit Shift A, I'll go mesh and I'll choose plane. I'll then hit numpad 7 to go into top view. I'll hit numpad period and that will align the view to the selected object. I'll then hit Control Alt numpad 0 and that will align the camera to the view. I'll select my plane, I'm going to tab into edit mode, I'm going to hit S4 and hit enter and that will scale it up by 4. Tab out of edit mode. In the shader editor, I'm going to click this button here and use the default material. If you haven't got one, click new. I am going to be using cycles for the final render, but to get this to work in the material preview, which is Eevee, we're going to have to temporarily change the render engine from cycles to Eevee. I'll then go to my materials tab down here. I'm going to scroll down and for the rendered method, I'm going to enable ray traced transmission. I'll then scroll up. I'm going to go back to my render tab over here and I'm going to change it from Eevee to cycles. We're going to be using the Node Wrangler add-on for this, so just ensure that you've got that installed. So first things first, I'll enable material preview up here. I'll just increase my shader editor. I'll hit Shift A, I'm going to go texture and we'll choose noise texture and I'll pop that there. I'm going to change it from 3D to 4D. With the noise texture selected, I'm going to hit Control T and that will add a texture coordinate node and a mapping node. I'll then change the coordinate system from generated to object. I'll just hit G and I'll bring these over to here. I'll then connect the factor from the noise texture into the alpha socket of the principal BSDF. I'll hit Shift A, we'll go color and we'll choose color ramp and I'll pop that in between there. On the noise texture, I'm going to change the scale to 1 and I'll increase the distortion to 2. On the color ramp, I'm going to change the interpolation type from linear to constant. I'll then select the white color flag and I'll change the position to 0.555. I'll navigate to my modifiers tab over here. I'm going to click add modifier. I'll go generate and I'll select array. For the offset method, I'm going to choose offset. I'll then set the X location translation to 0 and I'll set the Z location translation to 0.1. I'll then increase the count to 12. I'll just go to my 3D viewport. I'm going to orbit round. I'll hit Shift A. I'm going to go mesh and I'll choose plane. I'll tab into edit mode. I'm going to hit S4 enter. I'll then tab out of edit mode. I'm going to hit numpad 1 to go into front view. I'll hit G, Z. I'm going to hold down control to snap it to the grid and I'm just going to bring it down a couple of units. I'll then hit numpad 0 to go into camera view. The reason for adding this plane is just so we've got a solid surface for a background. I'll then select the plane with the Array Modifier. Before we continue, it's a good idea to save your project. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, and I'm going to save my project as like and subscribe. Thanks folks, you absolute legends. And then click Save As. Your computer might lag in the Eevee engine and you'll probably find that it responds a lot better in cycles. And that's due to the amount of transparency. Eevee doesn't handle transparency too well. So I'm going to navigate to my render tab over here. I'm going to ensure that I'm in cycles. I'm going to scroll down and under light paths, I'm going to turn my transparency up to 32. I've also disabled reflective and refractive caustics. I'll then go to my world settings over here and I'm going to decrease the strength to 0. In my 3D viewport, I'm going to hit Shift A, we'll go light and we'll choose sun. I'll then go to my object data tab over here and just ensure that your transform location and rotation are all set to 0. I'll then toggle on rendered view. I'll then go to my light data tab over here. I'll then increase the angle of my sun to 75 degrees. That just gives us softer shadows and maybe I can increase the strength to 2.5. Just as a note, on your render settings over here, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and under my color management, I've got my view transform set to ACES 2.0 and I've set my gamma to 1.5. And the reason I'm using the ACES 2.0 workflow is to retain better color accuracy and it also gives us a bit more dynamic range to play with. So I'm going to select my plane with the Array Modifier attached. Let's move on to giving this a bit of color. So I'm going to take these two nodes here, just going to hit G, just move these out of the way quickly. I'll then hit Shift A, we go texture and we'll choose gradient texture and I'll pop that there. I'll then take this mapping node, I'm going to bring this down here, I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate and I'll pop this up here. I'll then connect the object texture coordinates into the vector of the mapping node. I'm going to connect the vector from the mapping node into the vector of the gradient texture. I'll then connect the factor from the gradient texture into the base color of the principal BSDF. As you can see from our 3D viewport, the gradient texture is the wrong way round. And so on this mapping node, we're going to change the rotation to 90 degrees. To give this gradient texture a finer level of control, I'm going to hit Shift A. We're going to go color and we'll choose color ramp and we'll pop that in between there. And now if I drag this color flag, you can see that we can control the gradient mask. So black is at the bottom and white is at the top. So let's add some color to this color ramp. I'm going to hit this plus button to add another color flag. I'm going to select the black color flag and I'm going to change this to maybe an orange tone, maybe something around there. I'll then select the middle flag. I'm going to click in the color swatch and I'm going to change this to maybe a cherry red. I'll then select this end color flag. I'm going to click in the color swatch and I'm going to change this to a light blue. On the color ramp, I'm going to change the interpolation type from linear to ease. We can completely change the look of this using this noise texture. So if the scale is too big, we can reduce the scale to 0.5, for example. We can also adjust the white flag on this color ramp, and that will give us more or less transparency. So this will be down to personal preference. Maybe I'll set this to 0.5. Of course, you can play around with the detail, the roughness, and the distortion, and that will give you completely different results. The next thing I want to do is add a rim on these cutouts. So I'm going to take this color ramp, I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop this down here. I'm going to connect the factor from the noise texture into the factor of this color ramp. I'll then connect this color socket from the color ramp into the metallic socket of the principal BSDF. I'm going to set my roughness to 1, and on this color ramp, I'm going to click the plus button, and all I'm going to do is offset this black flag to 0.05 greater than this color flag. So this one's set to 5, so therefore this one will be set to 0.505. And now you can see we're getting this rim around the edges. We can also adjust the position of that black flag to increase or decrease the effect. And you may even want to change this from constant to ease. And this produces more of a worn look, almost like an ambient oculation effect. But I'm going to change mine back from ease to constant. So next up, we need to animate this. That's easy enough. We're just going to animate this W factor. So I'm going to hit Shift A, I'll go input, and I'll select value. And now we're going to add a driver into this value node. So in the value node, I'm going to type in hash frame. I'll then hit enter, and all the hash frame driver does, it increases the count on the value node in correspondence with your timeline. So if I skip to frame 2, you can see that the value goes to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. To view the animation in your 3D viewport using cycles, obviously it's going to be a bit laggy, so you're not going to be able to view it properly. So one of the only options we have is to view it in Eevee. But because Eevee doesn't handle transparency so well, this will also make our computer lag. So for a quick workaround, I'm just going to go to my modifiers tab over here. I'll then disable the Array Modifier in the viewport. I can now go to Material Preview, and now I can plug this value driver into the W factor of the noise texture. I'm going to hit play. And you can see this is way too fast, so we need to tone the driver down a bit. That's easy enough. I'll just box select these nodes here. I'm going to hit G, bring them across over to there. I'll then hit Shift A. I'm going to go Utilities. I'll go Math, and I'll select Math, and I'll pop this in between there. I'll then change it from Add to Divide, and I'll divide the driver by 100. I'll just hit play just to see if that's okay. Okay, I'm happy with that speed. So now I can re-enable my Array Modifier. I'm going to toggle on Rendered View. Maybe I can select my sun lamp. I'll then go to my light data tab down here, and maybe I'll increase the strength to 5. Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. I'll select the plane with the Array Modifier. And now, if you want to animate the hues, I'll hit Shift A, we'll go Color, and we'll choose Hue Saturation Value, and we'll pop that in between there. I'll then connect this driver into the hue socket of the Hue Saturation Value, and if I was to hit play, you wouldn't see any change, and that's because this counts from 0 to 1. And if I disconnect my hue, you'll see that 0 is exactly the same as 1. So I'll reconnect this driver to the hue socket of the Hue Saturation Value node. I'll then take this divide node. I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate, and I'll pop that in between the driver and the Hue Saturation Value. And now, if I hit play, you should see that the hues are changing. They're changing too rapidly for me, so I'm going to change this value to, let's say, 500. I'll just skip back to frame 1. I'll hit play, and now you can see that the hue changes are a bit more subtle. I'll just skip back to frame 1. Just a quick note, if you're going to adjust your transparency threshold with this color ramp here, so for example, if I was to set this to 0.55, I would then have to take the white flag here and set this to 0.55, and then I'd have to offset this by 0.05, so this one would be 0.555. I'm just going to undo that. So that's the node structure complete. The only thing left now is the render settings and output. So I'm going to go to my renders tab over here. I'm going to set my noise threshold to 0.05. That should be fine for this render. And maybe I'll set my max samples to 256. If you decrease your noise threshold and increase your max samples, you should get a higher quality render. And maybe you can experiment using a bit of depth of field to get a different look. I'll then go to my output settings over here. Click this folder icon and select a file location where you want to save your image sequence, and then click accept. Go with a file format of PNG set to RGB. That should be absolutely fine. And then it's simply a case of hitting Ctrl F12 and that will render out your image sequence. Just a quick tip here, you might want to add a bit of bump to this, so hit Shift A, go to displacement and select bump. You can then connect the factor from your noise texture into the height of the bump node, and then connect the normal socket from your bump node into the normal socket, the principal BSDF. And then simply increase the distance. So you might want to go with that look, you might not. Don't be afraid to experiment. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to dive deeper, click this next tutorial. Stay sharp, have a great day, and level up.